Alright, so I try not to make too many predictions. The last time we spoke, I actually predicted that the August BTO will be early.
Yeah.
But in the end, it came out
very
late after the Ghost Festival.
Should you or should you not apply for the upcoming November BTO launch? This is 99 Perspectives and we're going to share more on that today. Hi everyone, I'm Eliani and we're back with another BTO video for you. So this week, we're going to share with you more about the upcoming November BTO launch. So of course, we will need a resident expert. So we have Terence today, who is our content editor. So I think you guys are really familiar with this face, right? I think there's a lot of comments saying, oh, this guy is really good, like from the past BTO videos. So that's why you're here again.
Thanks, Eliani. Yep.
Now I'm going to give you guys a quick summary of this November launch. So there's a total of 9,540 units in 9 drawn sites spread across 5 locations. So this includes 1 in Bukit Batok, 1 in Tengah, 3 in Yishun, 1 in Kallang, Whampoa, and 3 in Queenstown. So of course, just by looking at the list right now, right, there's a good balance of mature and non-mature estates. So mature estates being Kallang, Whampoa, and Queenstown, and the non-mature estates are Bukit Batok, Tengah, and Yishun. So like what I mentioned earlier, there's a total of 9,540 units offered in this launch, right? And in the previous August launch, I think there was like 4,993 units. So this is like times 2 of the number already, which is going to be a big launch. So Terence, is there any like interesting features about this particular BTO launch?
Thanks, Eliani. I think before we even look at the November BTO, a few things have changed since we last spoke in the August BTO, right? The new cooling measures were announced.
Yep.
That was on September 30th, and it caught many by surprise because it affected people who are intending to buy HDB flats. First is the loan-to-value ratio, or the loan quantum, is lowered from 85% to 80%.
So in light of the cooling measures, right, if you're an existing property owner, but you want to participate in this upcoming November launch, what are the options for you?
If your property is a HDB flat, you can apply for the BTO, but upon collecting your keys, you have to sell your current BTO within 6 months, which is the existing rule. If your property is a private property, you have to dispose of this property, let's say it's today, right? It's completed. You have to wait 30 months before you can participate in the next upcoming BTO. This is for new BTO flats. But for resale flats, it's 15 months. So from today, you completed the sale, you have to wait past 15 months, then you can buy a resale HDB flat. If you've recently sold private property, and you're below 55 years old, you cannot buy a HDB flat until 15 months after you've completed your private property transaction. But if you're 55 and above, you are eligible for 4-room flats and below. All right? So that's another measure that was implemented. The third one is basically a higher stress test interest rate, basically. So in terms of calculation, your affordability to make sure that you can afford to service the loan. The HDB housing loan is now, the stress test interest rate is now 3%. The current HDB loan interest rate is 2.6. It's always been 2.6 for quite a while already. So in other words, for the same household income, you can borrow 4.3% less, before and after the September 30th cooling measure. Okay. The other development that's happened, which will affect the one of the BTO sites, is basically car-lite areas. So car-lite areas basically are like, shared community space, more pedestrian, more cycling paths and parks. This also means there'll be reduced parking spaces, right? So if you own a second car, you pay higher parking rate, just $190. And the reason why there are probably going to be less parking lots in these car-lite areas is because this area is actually land that's also shared, among the residents. So with less parking lots but more parks, more shared spaces, there's more co-sharing purpose for the residents because not everybody owns or buys a car, and you enhance the value to the residents' lifestyles. So for the car-lite one, I mentioned it will kickstart in the West Avenue BTO site, one of the BTO sites in Queenstown. So that will be the first one where the car-lite area will be implemented for a BTO site. For one of the Queenstown BTO sites, the one at Queensway, near Queensway. Part of it will be community care apartments. It's not the first. The first one, I believe, the pilot was in Bukit Batok. I think it's called Harmony Village, if I'm not wrong. So community care apartments are basically new 32 square meters, 344 square feet flats meant for seniors aged 65 and above. They can choose different leases from 15 years to 35 in increments of 5 years to cover them and their spouse till they are at least 95 years old. So I would say it's more for retirement, for senior.
Okay.
You know,
So
for
there's
old
like
age.
elderly friendly features in the house
Yes,
itself.
that's right.
Okay,
that's
okay.
right. These flats comes with senior friendly fittings, like grab bars, wheelchair accessible, a bathroom. Yeah. So buying a community care apartment means subscribing also to a communal service package that includes 24-hour monitoring. In case something happens to you, somebody is there. Response service, basic health checks, basic home fixes, right? And communal activity programs to bring the senior residents together to enjoy some activities. So this basic package, there's a cost also. So roughly about 22,000 for a 15-year lease flat that you're buying, to 59,000 for a 35-year lease flat. Yeah. So I mentioned that the first community care apartment will be at Bukit Batok, so that will be in 2024. So the one in Queensway, the BTO site, will also have a community care apartment. Pricing wise, I think it's roughly from 40,000 for 15 years to 65,000 for 35 years. And residents can either pay the full price, including the flat and the basic service package, or they can make partial payment, and then the rest they can pay in $50 per month increments. The flat price can be fully paid via cash and or CPF, but the basic package have to be paid in cash, right? So I wouldn't say that community care apartments is a kind of like a competing kind of flat type. It's serviced more for a particular unique group of residents, but it's definitely a good option for seniors who have sold private property and who wants to downgrade to a smaller flat. So this can be one option. But the thing is, at the Queensway BTO, there are 960 apartments, right? That includes community care apartments, 3-room and 4-room flats.
Yeah.
We don't really know the breakdown, but it's also near Alexandra Hospital.
Yeah, I think it's just opposite.
Yeah. So it's a seamless end-to-end kind of care model where you are taken care of within and around your home.
Okay, shall we talk a little bit more about the stack placements? Which ones are actually the best stacks that our viewers should consider?
All right, so we won't know the actual stacks until the launch is announced in November. What we do at 99.co, our website insider, is basically we'll do an analysis, right, of the stacks when it's launched. Based off what we have written so far on our website and what we have seen from the maps, I think the units at the BTO sites at Ulu Pandan will overlook the Ulu Pandan Canal and the landed housing estate at Holland. North part is actually prime area, so you're actually near a prime location. And we've actually written some analysis of it since December 2020. So we've written about it before. Another interesting site will be the 3 projects in Yishun, the 3 BTO sites in Yishun, where the stacks facing southeast may overlook the Orchid Country Golf Course, right? We know that the club's lease will expire in 2030, and it's actually zoned for residential. So maybe after that you will see construction and buildings.
Right.
Yeah. But if these BTO sites are completed earlier, you may enjoy a little bit of that view first. Finally, there's the Kallang Whampoa site, which is beside the Kallang River to the southwest. So if you have a stack that's facing southwest and maybe high enough, you may see a nice view of the river and so on.
What about the Tengah side? What are your thoughts on that? I think I really fancy it too. You're like overlooking like this proposed Tengah pond. I mean, we don't know how it's going to look like, but like Tengah is going to be an eco-town, so there's like eco-friendly facilities. So maybe those that enjoy nature.
The thing about Tengah now, we've been covering Tengah BTO, launches for a while, but we've yet to go on site and see what the township is going to be like. We know there's a lot of hype, a lot of expectations, a lot of interest. So until then, we don't really know. But we know that there are big plans for it. In fact, if you look at the URA master plan for Tengah, there are a few educational institutions that have been planned. Not right now, I think there's only one school that's been announced that will be merged and relocated there. But there are several institutions. So once you have educational institutions in that township, As more product, there'll be more students, more learning. And when you want to learn, you need more greenery, you need inspiration, you need cool air, These are young minds, right? So,
You're right.
so chances are we will see that flourishing. But right now, it's a black box. We can't really tell until we actually go there and see the place. Yeah.
Okay, so Terence, how about PLH projections? Like, in the past PLH launches, there's, flats in Kallang, Whampoa and Queenstown are normally caught up in this model. For this particular launch, there are 3 sites in Queenstown and 1 in Kallang, Whampoa. So is it possible that all 4 sites will be under PLH?
All right, so I try not to make too many predictions. The last time we spoke, I actually predicted that the August BTO will be early.
Yeah.
But in the end, it came out
very
late after the Ghost Festival. But just to give you my personal thoughts, I think Kallang Whampoa most definitely will be a PLH site. We've seen it with King George's Height, right? The last BTO launch there. For Queenstown, it's a little bit tricky. Right, Queenstown, there are 3 sites. There's Ghim Moh Link, which is the one near Holland Village, Buona Vista MRT.
Yes.
Right, and it's right next to Ghim Moh Ascent, which you have actually went to the site.
Yeah, we went to the site.
Covered it, right? And basically, you were pointing out to that big plot of land next to it and said that so this is that BTO site, right? I believe similarly this Queenstown BTO site will be a PLH site, right? The Dover Forest one, the one by Commonwealth West Avenue, I don't think it will be PLH, but some think it might because it's next to Dover MRT.
Yeah.
It's located near District 10, which is the prime area for landed housing. Potentially may have an unblocked view of the landed housing estate. But the reason why I think it may not be a PLH is because it's 1,330 units being offered there. I think news just came out that the plan is to have up to 3,000 units for that site, the Ulu Pandan site.
Okay.
Over the next couple of years. So the first phase will be the 1,330, but then there'll be subsequent ones. In total, about 3,000 plus apartments will be built there. For the Queensway BTO, I think it's 50-50. Right, because the last BTO site there, Queen's Ark, that was in August, I think, last year, was not PLH. PLH only started in the November BTO with River Peaks. So if that wasn't planned as a PLH, I don't know whether the Queensway one, this Queensway one will also be a PLH or not, because they are actually near each other. Right, Queen's Ark and this BTO site. Yeah, and as I mentioned, Kallang Whampoa site will definitely be a PLH site. 470 only, 3 and 4 room flats. So very, very premium, I would say.
Yeah.
Beside Kallang MRT, there's a proposed bus interchange to be integrated.
Yeah, just right beside, right?
Is it
right
integrated? Beside, or maybe integrated, I think. Possible, right? Well, this is not a factor, but it's good to know that Sports Hub is nearby.
Yes.
Then there are famous eateries, the Bak Kut Teh, the No Signboard Seafood. So a lot of famous eateries there.
Nice.
But this doesn't mean that it will be PLH. I'm just sharing why this location is interesting. Another factor why it could be a PLH site is because there will be a rejuvenation of Kampung Bugis, which is just across the river, right? Kallang Riverside Park waterfront will be redeveloped and it will be another Car-lite area.
So Terence, what are the possibilities of this launch being heavily oversubscribed? As you know, this is quite a huge launch, right? And I think there's higher possibilities for applicants to actually get a unit this time around. So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so November, 9,000 over units being launched, mature estate about 3,007, and then non-mature estate about 5,008. So that's 61% of the total being in non-mature estate. Definitely there's a higher chance if you apply in a non-mature estate. And the government has already announced, that they are trying to encourage more people to apply and try non-mature estates. Previous rounds, normally non-mature estates form about 40% of the total, or 31%. 36%. So 61% this time round is quite a significant increase in supply of flats in non-mature estates. So I can tell you if, 10 people try, in a non-mature estate, at least 6 should get through. I mean, this is just a rough kind of a scenario, but yeah, there should be a higher chance. We also should probably look at the application rates, right? So, and subscriptions. So when you look at application rates, you shouldn't just look at the percentage. You should look at the absolute number of applicants. I was just looking through the previous 4 exercises, just for PLH numbers, right? For 4-room flats. In November last year, River Peaks, the application rate was 10.3 for 4-room flats. It was 104 for second timers. Then for King George's Heights in February, it was 17.5 for 4-room flats, about 149 for second timers. Those two were below 1,000 units. So 680 for River Peaks, 294 for King George's Heights. Then for May, Bukit Merah reached 1,226 units were offered. 6,560 applied for the 4-room flats. So that's a 5.4 rate. So that's below 10, right? You've seen in the media a lot of people saying that it's too far from the city. I mean, it's further from the city compared to River Peaks and King George's Heights. And it was a huge quantum, 1,226 units. Although I should say that River Peaks, the number of applicants for the 4-room were 7,000. And then for Bukit Merah Ridge, it's almost the same, about 6,006. It was double the number of units for Bukit Merah. Then we look at Ghim Moh, 671 units were offered, almost 3,000 applied. So that's a rate of 4.4. Probably should also look at August, the recent August one, where Alexandra Vale, Havelock Hillside, 1,003 were offered, almost 8,000 applied, the rate was 6.1. These PLH sites, we can analyze them to death, I think, but the idea here is the more units offered, it doesn't mean the rates will be higher, but the number of absolute applicants may be high as well. Yeah. So I think for this coming round of November BTO sites, I think Kallang Whampoa will be heavily oversubscribed because it's only 470 and it's very near to the city, right? For the Queenstown one, based on what we've seen with Ghim Moh and Bukit Merah, if they are PLH sites, I think their subscriptions may be much lower because they are further from the city. But I can safely tell you that if Dover Forest is not a PLH site, it may see a very high subscription rate. I mean, although it's 1,300 plus units, it's next to the Dover MRT. It's near, very famous secondary and tertiary institutions.
There's also the first-timer quota thing, right? Like maybe you want to explain more on that a little bit?
For mature estates, the quota for 4-room flats has always been 95% for first-timers, families, right? So this is now kind of aligned and extended to non-mature estates as well. When it was announced by the Ministry of National Development and HDB in August. So in other words, whether you apply in mature or non-mature estates, it's 95% for first-timer. This is an increase from 85% previously for non-mature estates. I think the idea here is to encourage more first-time families, first-time couples planning to have families, to try non-mature estates as well. For 3-room flats, 3-room BTOs is now 85% in non-mature estates compared to the previous 70%. So also increased. For first-time singles, it's up to 65% now for non-senior 2-room flexi flats, right? In non-mature estates. This is an increase from 50%. So that's a 15% jump. So you have a higher chance if you try a 2-room flexi in a non-mature estate.
Okay, so let's talk about pricing. So do you think that the projected prices are reasonable? Is it too expensive? As you know, like in August, the Ang Mo Kio flats went for like 800k, which is insane lah. So what do you think about this launch?
Yeah, so Ariani, I think you've followed the debate, right, about the Ang Mo Kio's central weave BTO flat prices. And they've been covered in the media and it's been debated and raised in Parliament as well. And then the Minister for National Development, Desmond Lee, he did share reasons and even said that Central Weave, the Ang Mo Kio BTO site, HDB is making a loss, right? We actually wrote an article about it on 99.co Insider. We won't know the actual prices until launch, but based on the indicative flat prices, and looking at this round of BTO, it seemed relatively reasonable, but we'll have to wait till the launch and then we'll see, what are the prices then. But based on what we have shared for the 3-room, 4-room, 5 rooms, in terms of our forecast, excluding grants, these are reasonable prices based on what we've seen in the market. In fact, in the articles, we actually talk about the appreciation value of the neighborhoods as well. of some of the HDB resale flats in those neighborhoods.
So maybe you want to share with us a bit more on the appreciation, maybe? Like, is there like any current or future amenities that might arise that will, help with the appreciation in the future?
Kallang Whampoa development, I think, will probably have one of the higher appreciation values because if you look at our previous articles, it actually surged, for resale flats around the area. And also there's the Kampung Bugis rejuvenation plan along the Kallang River, which I think will enhance the value when eventually the area is developed. I don't think there's a timeline yet on when it will be completed or when, we'll see the precinct done. But, knowing that it will happen eventually, knowing that, it's a Car-lite area, knowing that it's near the city and, there's a lot of things happening in the area, I think the Kallang Whampoa BTO site will be the one to watch out for. The other side, I think, is to watch out for the Tengah sites. One thing I wanted to mention, but I didn't get to previously, is the Tengah sites near to MRT stations that have yet to be developed.
Yes,
right?
correct.
The Hongkar MRT and the Tengah Plantation MRT, they are
around the Jurong region
line, right? They will be completed around 2027, 2028. So right now, we don't know how much of a value these stations will enhance the BTO projects for, but I think whenever you buy a property and a train station is announced thereafter, like what we saw with the Cross Island Line Phase 2, right? The value of the property will increase as well. Yeah, we've covered appreciation values, like what I mentioned, and resale values of different HDB resale flats.
Yep.
In our article. So do check them out for more in-depth analysis.
Okay, so after going through all this details, right, I think it's also useful for me to ask these questions for those homeowners who are, who wants to be landlords in the future. So is there any rental opportunities for any of these projects?
Yeah, so I would go back to the Kallang Whampoa site. If it's a likely PLH site, prime location, public housing site, then you can only rent out rooms. There's only 3 and 4 rooms, so you can only rent out rooms. You can't rent out the entire flat. Even after MOP, you cannot rent out the entire flat. But if we are looking at non-PLH sites, likely the one at the Queenstown sites, the one that may not be a PLH designated site. If Dover Forest is not a PLH site, I think that would be an interesting location because it's near secondary schools and tertiary schools. So it will be good for students, right? We know that the Dover Forest, the Ulu Pandan sites, the government plans to build up to 3,000 apartments there. Eventually, there'll be competition for rent. Yeah, there'll be more units. For now, it's just at 1,003 in that site. I would like to add that with the cooling measures, the recent cooling measures, there'll be more rental demand. Right, as people who have just sold their private properties will have to wait 15 months, right, to buy a resale, 30 months to reapply for a BTO. So rental demand generally will always be there because of these restrictions. So if you're ever, kind of looking at applying for a BTO site, but in your mind you're thinking, yeah, eventually I want to rent it out. Yeah, so bear in mind where these various opportunities lie, and like what I mentioned, if it's nearer to the city center, the rental demand will definitely be higher. Okay,
so that's all for our 99 perspectives on this November BTO launch. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment down below and we'll get to them very, very soon. And if you guys are intending to participate in this launch, all the best to you. And yeah, thanks guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and also check out our 99.co insider page. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.